Hi everyone, we're just gonna get started. I'm Sonia Smith Kang. Hi everyone. We are gonna get started pretty soon. We're gonna grab Boston Scientific's Ebony, Travis, Tishner. Um, and we, just a moment, I'm letting folks know how to get in touch with us, how to find us. Thank you. I see Elizabeth. Welcome, welcome. Let's see here with, let's see here. Is Ebony with us? Hi, Ebony, if you're there, I'm ready for you. Let's see. How's everybody doing today? Waving at everybody who's joined us so far. Let's see here. Well, I'm excited. We had a call with Ebony last week, and we loved her so much. We decided we got to do this again. And so we brought her back today, and we look forward to talking with her in just a moment. Oh, there she is. Hi, hi, hi.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for joining us again. You were
I
so good.
know.
We had to bring you back. So,
I love
isn't that fun? So, we would definitely, Elizabeth is reminding us to share who you are, and we definitely will. Again, I am Sonia Smith Kang. I am president of Multiracial Americans, or MASC, here in I'm based in Southern California. MASC is on a mission to advocate for and foster multiracial identity. With this vision and mission in mind, MASC creates events and activities and Instagram lives like this to serve the community, to increase awareness and understanding amongst multiracial, multi-ethnic, transracially adopted, and our allies. I said most of us on our board who are joined us on the call are based here in Southern California. So with that in mind, I'd like to recognize that I'm on the Gabrielino Tongva Nation land. And at this moment, I'd like to show respect for Indigenous peoples and recognize their enduring relationship to the land. We recognize and honor the elders who have stewarded this land for generations. It's in this acknowledgement process that we can take the first steps on a long road to reconciliation. So, with that, let me introduce Ebony Travis Tishner from Boston Scientific. And folks are saying your smile is spectacular, and I agree.
Thank you.
I definitely, found your page. You have a personal page, as well as we'll talk about Boston Scientific. But we first would like to hear from you. I think everybody wants to know, why is Boston Scientific? But who's that? But let's start from the beginning. Talk to us. Talk to us about what you do,
Mhm.
your role at,
Okay.
and who is Boston Scientific and who is Ebony?
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me. It means the world to me. I appreciate that. I'm based out of Dallas, Texas. And yes, we are all safe and well after that crazy snowstorm, right? Texas, who would have thought? But I actually work for Boston Scientific. I've been with them for 24 years this year. I like to tell people I started when I was 13, so I need you
That's
to kind of
right.
go with me on that, okay?
Absolutely.
Um, I've had a really successful career track at Boston Scientific, and my husband works for Boston Scientific, so we live and breathe Boston Scientific. And I was currently promoted last year into a director role where I provide thought leadership and strategic direction when it comes to our global human resource policies. Really taking an opportunity to look at our policy an inclusive and equitable lens in our policies to ensure that our employees resonate with our policies, that we are creating a equal leveling field for all. Now, Boston Scientific, let me tell you about us. We are dedicated to transforming lives through innovative medical solutions that really improve the health of our patients around the world. Okay. We focus on addressing some of the toughest problems in healthcare. Yeah. And our products, they treat a range of complex diseases and conditions, including neurological, cardiovascular, respiratory, urology and pelvic health, and digestive diseases. I like to tell people we save lives from the top down. Pretty simple, right? Well, as I mentioned, been with the company for 24 years. I started at the bottom and really worked my way up. I started as an administrative assistant. I loved it. I will not lie. I love being an administrative assistant. But what I do love about every role I've had since then is I continue to still be focused on the employees. And that's really helping our multicultural employees, our Black and Brown employees, our Asians, our Pacific East Asians, our LGBTQ community, our veterans, our disability. It's really important to me, even though I'm out of the diversity, equity, and inclusion space, because that is where I just came from. I was working there for 5 years. I will never take off my DEI hat because it is so important in all the work we do as an organization. And let's be real, what we do personally in our lives, right?
Yes.
And so, I appreciate the fact that, when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion at Boston Scientific, we think about it as much as innovation. Or growing the company. A culture that values diverse perspectives drives us to be better and think differently. And that's how we can solve the toughest problems in healthcare. And that comes from our CEO and all our leaders at Boston Scientific. We care deeply about our communities and our employees. And we are constantly seeking ways to ensure that, our engagement and everything that we do makes us feel proud to work for Boston Scientific, right? And we do a lot of work in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space. So if you get a moment, visit bostonscientific.com/careers/diversity and inclusion. And you'll see a little bit about the work that I'll talk about here. But let me pause for a moment. That was a lot I shared. Any thoughts?
No, I appreciate all the work that it sounds like Boston Scientific has not been has been doing this for a while. These aren't the Johnny come latelys or the performative. This is something that has been built into the fabric of your company. And I think when folks go to that website, they'll be able to see not only some of the careers just by their time, that's one of the things that they have a focus on, but there's also and I can't wait to talk about the programs that you have also worked on for pipeline to help make sure that diverse communities are represented. And so I think at this time I'd love to hear about how Boston Scientific not only diversifies the company from those looking to join as a career, but also those that are interested in STEM careers as way back as high school, right?
Right. We do. Yeah. No, we do a lot, and I love it. We talked about this a little bit, and I was remiss, and I'm missing a couple of things. So thank you for asking that question. We do a lot, and we focus on goals, right? We have these goals that we put in place because we want to hold our leaders accountable, but we need to hold ourselves accountable as well. So we have these goals that we call 3UP goals by 2023 for gender and multicultural, as well as inclusion. These goals are intended to continue the forward momentum and progress in more diverse representation in our leadership, because there is so much work to do, and we know we all have a role to play in this. And so what those goals are is increasing the representation of women at the mid-management level by 3% or more. It's increasing the representation of people of underrepresented cultures at the mid-management level by 3% or more. And it's to continue to be a top 10% globally recognized leader for workplace inclusion, because we know that diversity and inclusion benefits everyone, right? And, we know that as we take our pipeline and increase it into the manager level, we've got this opportunity to bring in new, fresh talent and allow them the opportunity to be developed, groomed, and ready to take those leadership positions. So it only does a company so much good when you can take the talent you have now, develop them, move them up, and bring in that new talent. And as you talked about, STEM, right? It's bringing in those individuals that love science, technology, engineer, math. Ooh, that's a lot. Now, so we partner a lot with like the HBCUs, our historically Black college universities. We have such a great relationship thanks to our CDO and Vice President of HR. She has done such a great job getting all of those deans to partner with our organization to ensure that we're going in early to talk to these students and get them ready for corporate America, because we need to recognize that that's important too. It's one thing to say, okay, you're going to go into STEM and you're going to do this, but we also need to make sure we're preparing them for a whole new environment. Corporate America is different. The way we are working today is different. So, other things that we're doing is, for example, Bridge to the Future. In Valencia, California, I have this great partner I work with, Thomas Lopez. Not sure if he's on the call, but he's phenomenal. And he has done a lot of work just on that site in that area that's focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And one of those is that he's involved with their Bridge to the Future program, where we go in and we help these young individuals and we get them ready for corporate America. We get them ready it's like the cradle to career. We call it cradle to career. And we get them ready by, giving them assignments, talking to them, giving coaching, mentoring, and everything. And I'm really proud to share that we have hired quite a few individuals from that program. And so they literally can say they started when they were 13, because they literally started the moment they got out of college, right? I mean, they were interns before, while they were going to school, and then coming and joining our organization, right? I mean, that's amazing. So, that's one of the things we do. We also attend a lot of conferences like, BEA, which is for our Black engineers, our Amy, let's see here, there's our, oh gosh, there's so many. I could sit here and just feel like I could name them all. But, other programs that we have that are internal, right? Let's talk about internal. We have employee resource groups. Employee resource groups that are an opportunity for employees to network, learn, and really appreciate the diverse backgrounds of what each of these 9 ERGs do. And let me make sure I don't miss one. You have Bridge, focused on our Black employees. You have SAIL, focused on our South Asians. Pearl, our Pacific East Asian. Our Women's Network. LEAD for our disability. Pride for our LGBTQ, YPN for our young professionals, and VETS for our veterans. Now, I want to make sure I didn't miss those. There should have been 9. So hold on here. Let me just think for a moment. And I think I caught them all, because YPN I missed, but I think I got it. So I think we're there. So, and what's the great thing about these 9 ERGs is that you don't have to identify. You don't have to be a woman to join the Women's Network. You don't have to be Black to join Bridge. It's an opportunity to create allies and champions and meet people from different diverse perspectives and backgrounds. And that's what really creates inclusion, right? It's inviting everyone to the table, getting to know them, hearing their voice and their perspective. So we're really proud of the 9 ERGs that we have at Boston Scientific.
I think that's amazing, and that I agree. Sometimes when we're thinking about our organization, MASC, folks think, well, I'm not multiracial or or transracially adopted. No, we're saying we want we want you all, because here, that's how we get better. And that's how we get to interact with each other. And that's how we start to say, we are more alike than we are different. And that's really important. How can we say we're a diverse group and inclusive if we start limiting who can?
Right. And can I share with you? I was remiss in sharing with you. I am a Black Hispanic woman. People see me on the outside and they see I'm a Black woman, but I'm not. My mother is a little Hispanic woman, speaks Spanish like nobody's business. She single mom, raised me on her own. Couldn't be more proud. And now I'm her caregiver. She lives with my husband and I feel blessed that my husband has been so good to both of us, right? And so having my mom here, she's my best friend. Again, being an only child, she is all I've got. And I got to tell you, I always tell her, you're going to live a lot longer than me because I need you around a lot more than you need me, you know? So I just wanted to share that because, again, when we think about diversity and we think about looking, you know, how we don't want to limit people and say that you have to match this certain demographic to be a part of a group and so forth, that eliminates inclusion. We can't create an inclusive environment if we only say so-and-so can be a part of it. We have to invite everyone to the table. Everyone needs to be invited to the party, right?
That's right. Well, listen, I'm here for the party. I since we're sharing, and I love that.
Yeah.
I also have a Latina mom. And my father's African American, so I'm repping for the Afro Latinx and Blaxican, whatever, however you identify.
Yeah.
And you know, there's definitely that aspect of, you know, wanting to learn about others, right? I take my
Yeah.
you know, relationship within the multicultural, because my husband is Korean. So I have the interracial marriage, biracial, and then multiracial children, you know. So
Oh, okay.
listen,
You're going to laugh at this. You're going to laugh. Okay. And not laugh. Well, first, let me say my husband is Caucasian. Okay. So totally get it. And then we laugh because we have two little fur babies. One is black and one is white. Okay. That was purposeful. And I would not change it for the world. Okay. So I get it. I always tell people I've got a very diverse family and I'm very proud of it. I literally lead with that. My family's so diverse, you can't even make it up. You got my Caucasian husband, you got my Hispanic mom, you got Ebony, the black woman, you got my two dogs. Oh yeah, we are diverse all
I
around.
love it.
But I
Well,
love your story too. I love your story. So
why
thank
did
you
you
for
my
sharing that.
fur baby? My fur baby is a but we can go on and talk about babies for a long. But we are so excited to have you again. We're just to for the group folks that are just joining us, just to kind of reset the room. We're talking with Ebony Travis Tishner from Boston Scientific, who's doing some amazing work in the medical technology kind of space. We've talked about some of the programs outside of the organization itself. We've talked about Boost and the 9 ERGs and some of the programs for high school students. One of the things that we, in the last few kind of moments that we have, folks have asked us about maybe talking about clinical trials, if that's something that you feel comfortable talking about, and how, especially now during the kind of this climate, how do you think folks can empower themselves to be, you know, to that their culture is kind of represented in the different things that are going on?
Well, you know, it's interesting you talk about clinical trials and how, you know, I never really appreciated how important it was to have that diverse perspective in clinical trials. And that's why Boston Scientific has what we call Close the Gap. It's not just an initiative or a feel good. It's an opportunity to close the gap on a lot of these things that we do where there's not enough diverse perspective in that medical field, especially when it comes to the clinical trials. We notice that there's a huge disparity when it comes to, you know, when devices or drugs or anything are being tested, that we forget the population that is most of the time ignored, whether it be due to race or socioeconomic, they're ignored. And what you find 9 out of 10 is your multicultural people are the ones that are dying faster than your Caucasian individuals. And that is because most of the time when we do these clinical trials, we're missing the minority of the population to be a part of these. So I think a lot of it is just raising that voice, doing the research, seeing how you can get involved, or asking the questions. I mean, it's just like going to your doctor's appointment. When you go to your doctor's appointment, I mean, this happens with my mom because she's not on, insurance like my own. So we have to have a separate insurance for her. I notice I can get care a little bit quicker, a little bit differently than my own mom. But I guarantee you, when I walk in that room, oh, they're listening to me because I'm asking them and I'm telling them, my mom's in pain. I need you to hear me and hear me clearly. I need you to check on her. And here's what we're going to do. I'm not the doctor in the room, but I'm surely going to act like one for a moment, right? As a caregiver. So I think a lot of it is that we have to do our research. We have to go out there and make sure that if you're interested in being a part of some type of clinical trial, do your homework and ask. Are you willing to take the opportunity to be a part of it in order to support the majority of your community to ensure that whatever's being rolled out is going to help versus, weaken us further? I think the other piece is being associated with products where that they actually did do a clinical trial that reached a more broader, diverse population, like Boston Scientific. When we do our clinical trials, we make sure we focus on a diverse group of patients to ensure that our products apply to everyone and not just the majority, but also the minority. So we take it very seriously and with great pride, and Close the Gap has done such a great job with that. They partner with like ABC, our American Black cardiologist, who really focus on making sure that a lot of the clinical trials that are done through a lot of the medical device companies, that they are making sure that there's more diverse patients being a part of that. I hope I explained that okay, because that's always a tricky one for me.
And it's wonderful. And I think one of the, I heard so many like gems just from that piece. And it takes me back to why it's so important to have diverse folks in your organization, because then they can say, well, what about this community? Or wouldn't it be, beneficial to include this community as well? When we say that it's, why diversity is so important, it's also, so that we as a community outside of the organization is represented. And I think it goes to having trust in a company, and in manufacturing and products that are coming out. When you start to do the research, if I was researching Boston Scientific, I would say, look at this. This is what, this wasn't new. This is something we have ongoing.
That's it. The party, we've always been a part of the party. You just didn't come when it was time.
Right. And this is the gold seal. If anybody is looking to see how to do it, I mean, I'm going to point them to Boston Scientific so that they can, look at their, not only their careers, they're at conferences, they have ERGs, they have, folks that are themselves diverse, that are leading the way. And I think also when you have CEOs that you mentioned that are also, talking about it, and, it's important. It's important as people of color. I can say that, as a person of color, I can say that there has been a distrust at times of certain things, based on our history with clinical trials, right? So there's a reason why some folks are suspicious. And
of course.
You want to make sure that you are doing your research and doing the work and looking at, who's doing it right. And Boston Scientific, I am happy to report and listen to, sounds like they got it right.
We did.
I'm so glad that you're at the helm and you've got this promotion and you're out there, you're doing work. So I want to make sure that if there's any audience questions, we get those. We do have just a couple more moments. But as they're maybe typing up, if there's a way that we can, we shared, are you guys on social media? Is Boston Scientific?
Yes, we are. We are on LinkedIn. If you visit our LinkedIn profile, Boston Scientific Medical Company. We even have it on Facebook. Instagram, no, but Facebook and Twitter. We actually have on Twitter as well, Boston Scientific Medical Devices. And, you know, again, I'm just proud to work for an organization that really cares about its people and the community. You know, the one thing I failed to mention to you was the combating racism strategy that we're doing externally ever since, you know, George Floyd and the murder of George Floyd and those many before him. You know, real quickly, you know, what we recognize with George Floyd is that COVID is what brought the attention to DEI, right? George Floyd, COVID, you know, all of those kind of happening where people are locked down in their homes and they have no choice but to watch TV and see what's happening. And then they start to see that, okay, this Black man died on TV. We saw it with our own eyes. You can't even, you can't even make it up, right? You literally see it. And then you start to recognize the negative impact that's happening in our society. We're creating these systems of injustice and inequity, which has really disfranchised the marginalized groups, such as the Black and Brown community. And so we, as an organization, put together a 2.5-year strategy driven by a cross-functional team of leaders within our organization, where we have donated 2.5 million, or not donated, we are actually investing 2.5 million to support this external strategy focused on only the Black and Brown community, where we focus on 5 work streams, which is community, economic empowerment, healthcare disparities, government policies, and education. And I am really proud to say we've done a lot of great work since last year, and we look forward to sharing that more broadly externally. But just know that's another example of what Boston Scientific has done. You know, I mentioned about, you know, the party has always happened. Diversity, equity, inclusion has always been around. So when people start to ask these questions, it's like, you've always been invited to the party. Why now? You could have come here many, many years ago, but it took COVID for us to sit down and recognize that there's these things happening around you. Mm-hmm. And we just need to pause and appreciate that there's some things that we can do in our community if we just raise our hand and go out there.
Absolutely. And you are out there and you are doing it. Mm-hmm. And I'm so excited to anything that we should know, be on the lookout for coming up. Any you want to teach anything? Or?
You know, so it's going to be a part of our performance report that'll come out later this early summer. So, you know, every company has an annual performance report. So we'll have a few snippets in that annual report. And then, of course, we'll have some other announcements from our newsroom that you'll also see on our external bostonscientific.com website, where we initially talk about the combating racism strategy that we've put out there. So we're taking action to combat racism.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for all the work you do. The pride that you have, not only, you know, it just exudes for this.
I love life, love the company,
and
adore you.
I cannot thank you enough for taking time to share with us about Boston Scientific, for the work that you all are doing, for keeping the multiracial, multicultural, DEI folks in mind as you work to improve lives. From, let me get this, from
the top down.
Top down. There was something said that I just wanted, I was like, and Asian Soph is here saying healthcare disparities is an important topic. And yes, I'm so glad to see you bring that up. And yes, I'm glad to see this energy as well. But there's a lack of care and equity in healthcare. And I'm happy to say that Boston Scientific is just one organization that is doing it. And thank you so much. Thanks to everybody who joined us. We are going to have some of these gems on our recap and on our social media page, and we'll have all the ways to find out how to follow. And so with that, I'd like to close and say everybody stay safe and continue to reach out to MASC if you have any questions or any topics that you'd like us to discover and talk about and discuss. We'd love to invite folks to do that. So thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you and sharing more about you and your work.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Thank you. Oh, I
Thank
love
you.
it.
Bye.
Bye.